Welcome to our event. I'm Hind Mustafa, founder and managing director of Nadim Foundation. The foundation is a non-profit organization, non-governmental, and we focus on heritage, Egyptian heritage, its tangible and intangible aspects. What we do that is related to today is that we have an initiative to create an Egyptian encyclopedia of woodwork, 5,000 years of industry. And I think this is very pertinent to our lecture today. We also have a program that we call Narratives of Pieces, Places, and Pieces. People. Thank you. And again, this is very pertinent to what's going to happen today. So maybe I will introduce Dr. Killen. He's an architect turned Egyptologist and an ancient woodworker, technologist, and more. He started as an architect, as a teacher. Sorry, I thought yeah. Well, maybe I give this part to Professor Killen to tell you about it. He will know more. First, he got his a bachelor degree in London. In Liverpool, yes, before Mo Salah. Liverpool was there, yes. And since he's been producing books, encyclopedias related to ancient Egyptian furniture, but also ancient furniture. Recently, he has been retired to our good fortune, so he can focus on the actual tools and technologies and how actually people make this. I just have to say that, or rather thank Kamra Aransa, Designability, as he co-sponsored this event with us. And actually, he's the dynamo behind a lot of events happening in Cairo and related to improving the industry and awareness about it. Okay, thank you.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Yes? I will try to protect my voice because I'm going to read from the script. It might come off, but it's going to be holding my hand. If I can introduce my wife, Ray. Ray is going to control the slides. So I have no worries about seeing the slide. I started this way back in 1972, and that was when the Tutankhamun exhibition came to London. And I was doing a teaching degree in teaching, we call it design and technology, but you would know it as woodwork. And I was blown away by the quality of the furniture. And at the end of the 3-year course, I was asked to write a dissertation about some aspect of art history. Well, I thought as a student, I'll find some books on it, Egyptian furniture. And there was only one book written previously in the 60s by a man called Baker, and there was no other in material. So what I decided to do, I sat with William Davis. Some of you may have heard of William Davis at the British Museum. He was a young intern there. We sat together for about 4 weeks, and he showed me all the furniture in the museum. I wrote the dissertation, and it won the University Prize, and was seen by Professor Smith of UCL in London. He suggested I wrote a book on it, and it sort of flourished from there. So I started as a teacher, and then finally moved away to my PhD in Ramsworth, working at so that's where I'm coming from today. So I've been working first time in Egypt since 1971, and I've been regularly back. After these last 4 years, we've been everybody. So I'm very happy to be here today. We have to talk to you about actually Egyptian woodworking. We've also got sets of replica tools here that some of you may want to look at in more detail. I might give a little demonstration, depends how long this goes on. You know, I can get carried away sometimes, so I'm really enthusiastic about what we're talking about. We've also got some replica things like the headrest, so some of you might want to try the headrest. Yeah. We have, this is from the Christian era, down at Thebes, Israel, and one element survived. From that element, part of the actual structure. We've also got a dog coffin. We've also got a dog coffin here that's in the copy of which is in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge. Because I've been associated with the Fitzwilliam working on coffins, and we've actually built one, so you can have got putting it together, flat packed. So there are dowels, and you spend happy 20 minutes trying to put this dog coffin together. Let's start at the very beginning. So, good evening. I'm very pleased to be here today to discuss the materials, tools, and the techniques that Egyptian carpenters employed to work some of the most marvellous artifacts produced in the ancient world. However, firstly, I would like to thank members of the Nadim Foundation and Designability who are sponsoring and making this talk presentation possible. Thank you to all. Ancient Egyptians exploited all the products of the tree, its timber for constructional and decorative work, its leaves for fodder, parts for tree and matter. Now, apart from being used as fuel, acacia, which is a very hard and durable timber, was worked into coffin parts, used in larger sections for roofing, carved into make headrests, used to make furniture, and has even been found in parts of chariot construction. It was used to make chisel handles and was widely used in the boat building industry. It's a fairly small tree which has red-coloured hardwood. Its blossoms being used for garlands, floral colours. Now, sycamore fig, this unique tree, was employed in the manufacture of coffins. It can be distinguished by its massive lateral branch, these big branches of, like this particular one is a specimen that's in the Botanic Gardens in Cairo. It mustn't be confused with the sycamore tree, which is a completely different tree. This is a big tree and it's found in Egypt. But it was used to make coffins of set and steel. The next tree is the dom palm, which is a very hard wood, and it was used in the boat building and general carpentry. Another tree used by Egyptians was the Ziziphus philiocristus, commonly known as Christ or Zidda. It was used to make coffins, dowels, furniture, and bows. Now, scenes showing woodcutters are occasionally found in relief and painting throughout the UNESCO period. And an illustration from an Old Kingdom tomb is we see a woodcutter felling a tree. He has chopped a deep notch at the base of the trunk and the tree is falling away from him. Now, this is very unusual because you would expect the tree to fall towards him. Now, does this mean that he had no knowledge of the process? Maybe he was told about this and then carved that particular scene but had no real knowledge of the process being employed here. Now, these tomb reliefs found these show clearly the dimensions of felled timber. An overseer, in the middle, is shown supervising men who are removing branches from the trunk of the tree with axes. So the axe was a piece of a woodworking tool that was well known in ancient Egypt. Not so much now with modern. Yes. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
So we can see the overseer. We can see the overseer there is supervising men who are removing the branches of the trunk, the tree trunk with axe right hand side. Now, in the mortuary temple, Queen Hatshepsut are punk seeds, which show Egyptians and Africans cutting branches from what is thought to be African black. Now, this particular tree is not truly black Diospis, which is known as Indian ebony, but Dalbergia melanoxylon, which is a completely different tree. It's very hard. It has a black to brownish red colour, but the skulls and the woodwork you see in museums around the world will be made from this timber, African ebony, rather than Indian ebony. Now, the African blackwood was used for furniture production, particularly in the manufacture of round-legged stools, and it was also used as a veneer to cover poor quality wood. Now, with demands for better quality timber, the coniferous wood trade from regions north of Egypt was well established by the 4th dynasty, and the Palermo stone records that 40 ships sailed to the Lebanese coast where trees such as cedar were, and these were rafted and towed back across the Mediterranean to be stored in big timber yards in the delta. Now, the Lebanese cedar, this magnificent example is in the Botanic Garden. It's a very large growing tree, between 30 14 metres in height, with a trunk of between 1 and 2.5 metres in diameter. It's a wonderful timber to work. It has got good straight grain, takes a polish nicely. It has a pinkish brown colour and is very durable, and is also sweet smelling because of the seed oil it contains. It was widely exploited and was used in the manufacture of Khufu's timber. Coffins, we find it, and also in shrine. Now, many of the pieces of furniture that were discovered in the tomb of Tutankhamun were possibly made from this particular timber. See. Now, the care in which timber was felled, that's cut down, so preventing the possibility of splits or thundershakes being impacted into the grain, is seen in a relief found on the northern exterior wall of the hypostyle hall in the Great Temple of the Moon, Karnak. And here we have a photograph and a line diagram of the same scene. Woodcutters are shown felling a tree, tall tree. One man is using an axe at the base of the trunk, he is shown with red arrow, while two others are holding the tree with ropes which have been tied to the upper branch, and those are shown by two blue lines. This allows more control over the speed and the direction of the tree's fall. Other important timbers included the ash. Because it has elastic properties, it would have been used to make the halves of tools, such as the adze, as well as chariot parts and furniture. Now, the list of timbers used by the ancient Egyptians was extensive, and they readily embraced any timber and quickly learnt how to exploit the diverse range of physical properties each exhibited. In understanding these characteristics, techniques, they were able to select timber that would satisfy the needs of the product they were asked to manufacture. Well, not only is the felling of timber an important process, but its conversion has to be done properly to prevent defects such as shapes developing. Now, these are splits in the timber that open either into holes, either radially from the centre or around the growth lines of the tree, which makes the timber that we use not particularly a productive exercise. In Egypt, long planks were split with axes and wedges from the trunk, which made the selection of the straight grain timber with few defects by woodcutters by the process. Now, this technique is known as cleaving and was well understood and practiced from as early as the pre-dynastic period. Now, we find examples of crudely constructed burial boxes made from irregular shaped planks which are kept together. An experienced craftsman split a trunk, a straight grain growth, into planks with relative ease. Now, in ancient Egypt, timber conversion was achieved by the saw, with the felled log being bound with rope to a vertical sawing post. Therefore, accurately sawn planks were not normally greater in height than the height of the sawer. And this scene shows that a stone-weighted lever was tightened into the ropes which held the workpiece tightly to the sawing post. The sawn conversion of green timber, now this term indicates that the timber has been freshly felled and water is trapped in the cell walls and cell cavities, would cause the saw to jag. And wedges were employed to keep the earth, saw cut, open. Now, from planks of timber which make the carcass of early dynastic coffins, it is clear that the early saw conversion of timber was a difficult process to achieve, with only the small hand saws were available. Small hand saws. Now, the saw lines run across the wood, these planks, in many directions. And an excellent illustration of the saw being used is seen here in the 5th dynasty tomb of Teeth at Cairo. The quality of sawn timber improved by the end of the Old Kingdom with the introduction of the large pull saw. And here you can see the saw is distinguished from the hand saw, for it is usually manufactured without a wooden handle. Now, the handle would have been pulled off during the sawing process because the teeth of the saw always point towards the saw. So you can imagine as they're sawing down, they're putting their foot against the post and pulling the saw through the wood. Wood is attached to the post. Now, the process of reducing the moisture content of green timber is a process called seasoning. And planks that have been prepared by through and through cutting, by saw or by cleaving, shrink more on the face, which is furthest away from the pith or the centre of the tree, than the face that is nearest it. Therefore, the drying of planks is another important process. For as if achieved too quickly, the planks are likely to warp or cut. Now, these boards are prepared by through and through cutting, and you can see the typical slash grain figure that you can see on the surface of the board. It's achieved by cutting through the trunk. However, in the next section, I would like to look at the tools the ancient Egyptian carpenters used. by the New Kingdom, the range of woodworking tools available to the carpenter was quite impressive, as shown here, and I replicated in the models we've got that you can use to show how they actually work, how they perform. Now this all changed with before the pre-dynastic period. Wood had to be worked with thin knives. Some had serrated edges, which made them perform like a primitive saw. But because they were quite thick, little knives, they couldn't slice through a piece of timber very accurately. So you could nicks in timber, you couldn't slice the saw. Now this changed with the introduction of the specialist woodworking tools at the beginning of the early dynastic period. And this technology created opportunities for resistant materials such as timber and ivory to be worked to a high degree of accuracy. And a fine collection of woodworking tools was discovered by Professor Emery, University College London, at Cairo in S3071. Now, with the forged copper handsaw, it became possible not only to convert timber into boards, but to cut these boards to various lengths across the grade and to form sophisticated joints. Now, these simple saws were developed from the knife and were between 251 and 400 millimetres in length. Their teeth were irregular in both shape and pitch, and the pitch is the distance between each tooth. And the set of the tooth was always pushed to one side of the blade, unlike the alternating set of the modern saw, where each tooth is pushed to the right and left blade. Now this makes the ancient saw difficult to use, as one side of the blade is always in contact with wet and resinous saw cut, which is known as the curve. We also see the introduction of small copper chisels at this time, not only for woodwork but also stonemasons. And these were designed without handles and were used with either stone or a wood mallet to chop holes or carve various types of resistant material. Now, with the ability to cleave wood and cut it using these early copper woodworking tools, it was possible by the early dynastic period to make simple joint frames. Design concept that could be easily adapted to manufacture bed frames, stools, boxes, coffins. Now, developments in tool design and technical processes rapidly increased as carpenters realised the potential of the medium they worked. Better quality timber required better quality tools, which in turn created better quality work. By the 4th dynasty, carpenters were experienced practitioners using a range of sophisticated tools. Their working practices can be analysed and understood through tomb scenes that we find in the tomb of Mire, which is TT100 at Luxor, and in the tomb of T, Cairo. Many of you will be familiar with this scene from Mire. We can see a number of carpenters engaged in a range of woodworking processes. One illustrates conversion of timber using a saw. Tree trunk to be sawn as being lashed with rope to a sawing post. Notice, by the New Kingdom, the stone lever weighting mechanism seen on earlier conversion scenes of wood has now been discarded, indicating the saw was now running through the timber without jam. Now, was this because the set of the saw had been adjusted? Possibly yes. Now, in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, we have a saw that is similar in form to the one found in the tomb of Cairo. While in the British Museum, we have full-length pole saw used for the conversion of timber. Now, with this saw, the saw teeth point towards the sawer, and the cutting stroke is on the pulling stroke of the saw. Now, this prevented the saw from bending as the saw was pulled through the timber, much like Japanese saws. Modern Japanese saws are predominantly pole saws. And notice in the top left corner of the scene are two sawn boards, each displaying a typical slash-grain figure that you would be achieved by through and through cutting the log. And here the artist is showing us a pair of boards. Whether they've been seasoned or they're ready for the carpenter to work on, we're uncertain. Another scene in the tomb of the thieves shows the importance that carpenters placed in the measuring and setting out of timber. The carpenter sits on a block of shaped stone, and works at a wooden bench that has a rebate cut along its front edge. The rebate was designed to allow him to firmly hold the workpiece to the bench while he sawed it across the grain to the desired length. He uses a straight edge or cubic rod to measure and to test whether the element he's working on is true and flat. Now, the cubic is a measurement of about 524 millimetres in length, approximately the length of a man's forearms and the elbow to the finger. And this measurement was subdivided into 7 palms, with each palm subdivided into 4 digits. He also uses a tri-square to test to see if sectional corners are right angle 90 degrees. We also see that he also employs a mitre square. And this unique example on the right hand side is in the Petrie Museum at University College. He embeds the axe uses in the top surface of the wooden bench. The sharp tools on the workshop floor would have been a serious injury risk, particularly with bare fingers. The axe was used to true and to shape timber. The shape of the metal blade developed throughout the dynastic period. During the early dynastic period, axe halves were straight. However, by later dynasties, as in this slide, we see axes with shaped halves. Another woodworking scene from the 19th dynasty tomb of Tui, TT 217, the Deal Nadim, shows carpenters building catapults. One carpenter is seen working on the roof of a catapult. He is shown chopping holes in the edge of the cornice with a mortise and chisel, and mallet. The mallet is made from a dense block of wood. The mortise chisel is now held in a wooden handle. The purpose of this type of chisel was to chop and leave pieces of wood out of square or rectangular holes, which are called mortises. Another carpenter is shown carving grooves in the inner curved surface of the roof's cavetto cornice. He uses a completely different type of chisel, a firmer chisel. He uses it to hand carve the surface of the cornice. Firmer chisel is designed with a wide, flared cutting edge that is made from a bar of bronze that has been forged to that shape. Cutting edges can be modified to suit the needs and profiles of work needed to be worked on. In the Old Kingdom to Cairo, we have additional evidence of tools and processes used by carpenters in a beautifully rendered scene. Within the scene can be found carpenter using a bow drill to bore a hole in a piece of wood. Here we have the first illustration of a bow drill being used. The carpenter holds the bow in his right hand, the bow is wrapped around the wood drill stock, which he holds in his left hand with a stone or nut cut. The metal bit is fastened into the bottom of the drill stock, and the bow is drawn backwards and forwards and turns the drill, which bores a hole in the workpiece. One of the earliest surviving examples of the bow dates to the 12th dynasty and was discovered at Lahun. Now, this particular bow was found with a firelight to make fire wire. We do have an example of a bow and drill preserved that shows hereditary curved piece of bowstring that allows the bow to be brought back. Now, Professor Emery also discovered into S3271, the Saqqara, a number of thin blade oars, similar to this new Kingdom. These could be used to bore holes in wood or produce a mark in which the drill of the bow drill could be located prior to drilling. All these tools need to be sharpened at regular intervals, and the carpenter's workshop was equipped with a small forge where blades could be reformed and heat treated. The final edge was then ground onto the blade, and this process was achieved by honing the blade at an angle on a whetstone with a little oil, and this whetstone has a hole bored through it at one end. Now, to help lubricate the whetstone, oil from a flask was applied to the surface. At one end is a wooden stopper, while at the other end is a spout, formed in the shape of a spoon. Tied around the spout, we see some cord, which would indicate that it was hung in the workshop on a peg, possibly with whetstone. A further scene to illustrates the sanding of wooden balls. Now, when finishing smoothing wood, carpenters used abrasive blocks, just like we use sandpaper, but they use sandstone blocks. They rub up and down the grain to smooth the grain after the grain has been cut up the ball. A further illustration in the tomb of in the tomb of Miro at Thebes was discovered a model of a carpenter's workshop. These Middle Kingdom carpenters are shown engaged in many activities: truing wood with adzes, mortising with chisels, and converting timber with a pulser. You can see set in the middle of the work. And they're using a type of batch production process where each man repeats the same process. At the far end of the workshop, you have seen a large white chest in which the tools were stored at the end of the shift. And to the right of this chest, in the corner of the workshop, you see the back of some men who are working at a small forge, and they're heat treating and sharpening the woodwork's workshop metal tool blades. Now, I want to now discuss the secondary processing of wooden materials. Now, Egyptian carpenters began to laminate thin sheets of timber as early as the 3rd dynasty in an attempt to fabricate larger sheets of material which were dimensionally stable, equally strong in all directions. And an example of 6-ply wood where the grain of one sheet runs at right angles to the next was discovered in a sarcophagus within the step pyramid complex. Carpenters were also experienced in artificially bending green timber. And at Beni Hassan, we have a scene which showed Middle Kingdom carpenters steam bending or at least wetting timber, length of timber, while a second carpenter shaping the soft timber by pressing both ends into the ground, and once the wood dried, it would retain its desired shape. Now, the art of rotating timber between fixed centres and scraping the wood away was known to the Egyptians, and evidence of small-scale turning can be found on a few store legs that date to the New Kingdom. However, the majority of round-legged stalls of the early New Kingdom were neither turned nor worked between centres. And in the lower right-hand image, marvellously recorded by my wife, Rain, there is a bulge on the bottom of the leg. And that leg shows it rotated through one revolution. And it shows that the leg is irregular in profile. And the red arrow highlights clearly a bump on the foot section which could not be achieved if the leg had been turned. Additionally, the leg shows no evidence of being supported between pivotal centres, and those lines which are incised about it are uneven. The shoulder at the top of the leg, you can see, is not square. And the spike at the top just simply extends, fixes in a hole in the underside of the cement frame. Now, the first illustration we have of carpenters working at a lathe is seen in the Greco-Roman tomb, Cyrus at Tunaville. The wooden bed of the lathe appears to have been vertically mounted, and the wall relief has possibly been rendered to give a clearer impression of this process. In reality, this lathe may have been horizontal. Now, however, some stall legs and other artefacts that date to the Ramsey exhibit evidence of true turn, such as a pair of stalls that are preserved in the museum, which have been carbon dated and found to be manufactured at the end of the New Kingdom. Now, one is in fragmentary form, which allows us to examine the construction very, very easily. The top of the leg to the stretchers mortise has been turned parallel and then smoothed with sandstone. Below the stretcher joint, the leg has been turned to a simple spindle shape. Now, as part of my research into how this leg was manufactured, I built horizontally mounted lathe and proceeded to turn parts on that using a blank. The technique was successfully worked and created a part in the blank would have been difficult to cut by hand. A second stall, in perfect position, can be clearly seen at pivot holes below the legs. Though much worn because of the stall's use, it is similar to this first stall we examined, and the spindle work below the stretcher joint very accurate, and the profile being well drawn and symmetrical. Also, the storage in the basement of the School of Archaeology, Classics and Egyptology in the School of Archaeology at Liverpool University is another example, a fine example of a turned piece of wood. Now here we can clearly see the pivot part, which is being greatly magnified, but evidence of burning deep within the pivot, which has been created by friction between it and a metal centre, indicates it certain turn. From an early period, the concept of constructing wood using woodwork joints, where your sheet becomes useful, in one of three constructional forms: the box, frame, and the stall, exploited all the physical properties of wood. Firstly, wood strength is along the grain and not across it. Secondly, shrinkage of wood is negligible along the grain. Now we see the use are the simple butt joints of all periods, and they are usually held with some type of mechanical fixing. That's either pegs or sinew. And the corners of this new kingdom box are held together with butt joints that are secured by dowels. We also find carpenters using various types of edge joints. Now, on the previous examined box, the cornice is held to the top edge of the box with an edge joint that is also fastened with dowels. Some box panels are made from irregular shaped pieces of wood that are held together with pairs of loose tenons, and the edges of the boards have been cut with slots into which would be fixed loose tenons. Now, these are held in position by small transverse dowels passed through the sides of the wood and pierce the tenon above and below the line of pitch. Dowels were also used to edge joint timber elements together. This lid, which is made from 7 thin slabs of natural wood, have holes drilled along their edges in which are placed small dowels. The quality of the drilling is poor. The sides of the holes are shown by the red arrows have broken through the surface through the drilling process. And now they are empty, but there are no dowels. Now, when constructing a carcass with a shaped surface, cooper is useful. It's similar to the edge joint, but the joining edges are slightly angled to accommodate plane curvature, and the box in the Tuma and it's actually made from a coopered construction and then decorated with bonded pieces of wood, curved leaves across the surface. The cooper joint could also be used to construct the head sections of the coffin. Now, the simplest form of is the lap joint or rebated butt. Now, a trade that dates to the first dynasty, discovered by Henry of Cairo, and has its corners held together with this type of joint. Each joint is fastened by a rawhide thong, which passes through holes bored at an angle through the joint. It is possible that these thongs would have been soaked in water or before being threaded through holes and then tied. As they dried, they would have shrunk and pulled the joint firmly together. The partition of boards, which are located in the sides of this tray, are held with housing joints. And another way of partitioning the interior of the box is by using a hard joint. And this is where timber is removed from each element and is another way of joining two pieces of wood together. And a fine example of a pair of triple crossing joints can be found on a small bar stand that dates to the New Kingdom. The 6 legs are braced by 2 levels by a complex carving. The blade and socket tri-squares were connected by a bridle, and this example dates from the Ptolemaic period. The joint is held by a pair of metal pins and carefully wedged to be closed at a perfect right angle. Now, the family of joints, which make the mortise and tenon family, were extensively used by Egyptian carpenters, joiners, cabinet makers, and builders. They established the strongest joint had a tenon 1/3 of the ground. Now, the common mortise and tenon with square shoulders has a tenon that is taken completely through the opposing rail and can be found on simple bed, frame, stool, and chair constructions. The seat rails of this Middle Kingdom stool are connected to its legs by through mortise and tenons. Now, this arrangement prevents the adjacent seat rails from lying in the same horizontal plane, and is a feature of Middle Kingdom furniture design. Now, these joints would have been secured by driving wedges between the faces, mortise, and tenon. The common mortise and tenon with a scribed shoulder, that's a curved shoulder, would be found at Cairo on First Dynasty bed frames, which are supported by bowline shaped legs, and the curved or scribed shoulders below the tenon project from the top, mould around and support the side poles of the bed frame. We also find used on folding stools, which have the ends of their diagonal spindles formed with ductlets. The tenon projects as a duck's tongue and is mortised into the floor rail, and the beak forms a scribed joint around the sculpture around the joint. Now, to allow seat rails to lie in the same horizontal plane, the technique of halving the tenon and allowing one to pass over the other in the legs mortises is seen on new human chairs. Again, the practice of wedging the joint is preferred to using glue. Now, where the cross rail is thinner than the vertical style, we see Egyptians prefer to use either a bare-faced, that's without shoulders, or alternatively, as in this slide, a bare-faced tenon with a single shoulder. The stud mortise tenon has applications in stall and frame construction where the mortise is stopped, that is, it's not completely chopped through the style of the upright. In this example, it's used to connect the frame of a chair back support. Usually, the joint is held by a single dowel as it cannot be externally wedged, and this passes through the face of the joint. Dovetail, where a tapered towel is cut on one element and locates on a matching socket, can also be identified in furniture and in coffin construction. And here it is used as a football that holds the side panel of the coffin. Another variant is the common through dovetail joint, commonly used to fasten the corners of boxes. Here it is used to fasten the corners of boxes that contain one third, and the side panel for a rectangular linen box that was discovered in the tomb at Moses, which is preserved in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The main use of the lap dovetail joint is in drawer and carpentry. This is a wonderful illustrated example of a construction of a drawer frame from a 12th dynasty block preserved in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Egyptian carpenters also developed a range first. And he recognised from the gold sheets that were applied to the furniture that had fallen away from the furniture as it decomposed, that the mitre corners of the chair were actually jointed at an angle of 45 degrees. Now, the process of joining the ends of poles to form boxes and coffins was being achieved by a number of different types of mitre shoulder joint. We find the shoulder mitre and the double shoulder mitre regularly used in coffin construction. Another variant is a joint with a butt joint surmounting a long plane mitre, which is seen on Middle Kingdom coffins. And this example is preserved in the Museum of Art. The final variant of this form is the half dovetail surmounting a long plane mitre. Now, Egyptian sawn timber was often very short because of the conversion process, and the common scarf joint with a butterfly crown blocking this was employed to fasten short lengths of timber together. The faces which come into contact with each other were cut at an angle, and a double dovetail socket was cut across the splice, and into this socket was driven a butterfly-shaped crown that securely locked the battens together. And this technique was also employed by builders to hold stone blocks together. And the tie scarf was used when constructing other boats. Here you can see tied scarf joint that's connecting the whole planks of the roof. Another variant of this joint was the splice scarf joint that we used in boat building and has flat contact surfaces. Now I'd like now to examine the ways in which Egyptian carpenters embellished furniture. The 18th dynasty scene in the tomb of Nero Thebes shows a carpenter applying hot glue to a veneer wood with a brush. The glue was made by boiling down the skins and bones of animals and allowing the solution to evaporate, leaving a concentrated viscous adhesive. Veneer was used as a decorative layer to disguise poor quality wood. Decorative wood veneers would be cut with a thin blade saw, unlike the modern process we use today where we rotate or slice the wood with a long fixed steel knife. Large amounts of ivory strip that are incised through twisting, crossing, diagonal, chain and zigzag patterns have been discovered in a number of early dynastic sites and were down to furniture in an early attempt to veneer it and decorate. The Ashmolean Museum here has an excellent collection of ivory strips. Many New Kingdom boxes were made from solid boards. The underside of this lid is made from two solid boards. However, the upper side, as well as the sides panels, the box's side panels, have been edged with African blackwood veneer in an attempt to give an impression of a rich frame construction, while the imitation panels are covered with tiles of faience and red-stained ivory, which is separated with ivory and African blackwood stringing. Now, many of the rectangular boxes discovered in the tomb of Tutankhamun were surface treated in a similar fashion. Now, the technique of inlaying, that is, embedding a variety of materials into wood, was widely practiced during the early period. Now, this lid fragment from a virus has one surface inlaid with triangular pieces of wood planks. And a number of pieces of furniture discovered in the tomb of Tutankhamun were decorated with applied techniques of marquetry and parquetry. Now, marquetry is where shaped pieces of wood or ivory have been cut and then applied to the surface of the wood to create a possible picture. While parquetry, as illustrated in this slide, involves applying thousands of individual pieces of wood and ivory to create geometric patterns as a decorative finish. The technique of staining wood to produce pictures on furniture was also commonly employed, and the slabs of ivory would have been attached to the sides of the box, copper nails, that carved to give a bas relief for being stained floral, animal, hunting motifs. Gilding is another popular technique applied to wood. One of the earliest examples of this process is seen on the reverse side of the lid fragment previously examined in the file. And the edges of the fragment are carved with the tip bound rush commonly seen at this period. And the surface was overlaid with fine linen, on which this gold leaf, very thin gold leaf, was applied and burnished onto the bound rush pattern. Only small fragments of gold can now be seen on this, and these are indicated in the crevices of the bound rush decoration. Gesso paste was also used as a bonding material to hold the gold leaf to the floor, and this technique was used throughout the dynastic period and is seen in much of the royal furniture discovered. We also see the use of thicker gold sheet and sometimes silver, which was more expensive material, beaten, pressed and punched, and punched around wooden cores. These metal sheaths were held in position with small nails, and this wonderful example has recently been assigned to have been discovered in the tomb of Ramses IX. Now, another major shift in woodworking technology occurred with the introduction of iron woodworking. Now, again, Egyptian carpenters embraced this imported technology from the Roman world and used it to meet the cultural needs of Egyptians now living in a Greco-Roman society. A thriving woodwork centre developed in the Fayum to meet the needs of those people living there who required a new form of burial prayer. That is, having their living portrait painted on a thin wood veneer that would be bound on their death into their mummy binding. Now, these wood veneers, many of which were discovered by people, have become known as mummy portraits. Now, they are beautiful. And I've been recently involved with a research program at the museum in Cambridge that explores how these wood veneers were cut prior to the application of paint. Now, this portrait of a bearded man dates to the late 2nd century CE, and analysis has shown that it is made from 2 rings thickness of timber, 2 rings, averaging around about 3-4 millimetres in thickness. Quite remarkable. Now, viewing the fact that, which you can see has split at some stage and has been held together with pieces of tape, this back surface shows that there are saw lines across the grain with it's been sawn with a very, very long saw, much longer than the full saw. Okay? And the saw lines run parallel to each other and could not have been achieved by a full saw. Now, this leads us to look for evidence of what technologies were available to carpenters working in the Fayum. Now, Petrie was able to discover a series of woodworking tools that were used by the carpenters, and we see a new range of iron tools being used, including an example of a long iron frame saw. Now, as part of the research, I manufactured a replica frame saw blade based on a woodworking scene first seen at Pompeii. The saw blade is anchored to the replica wood frame with a tightening that grips a hole each end of the blade. The woodworking scene at Pompeii shows the frame saw being used by 2 people to saw plank wood. Preserved in the Petrie Museum in London, we have this broken iron frame saw blade. And the wonders of modern computer technology allows us to bring these 2 fragments together. Now, although the iron saw blade is badly corroded, it still retains the sharp teeth and the holes at each end of the blade, which would anchor the blade across the wooden frame, as previously seen in the rectangle. And in order to cut such thin veneers, it is possible that the carpenter developed sawing lines to allow them to cut thin sheets of veneer without breaking through the surface of the veneer with a frame saw. Now, another potential saw discovered by Fayum that could have cut these wood veneers is the bow saw. And again, this one is the Petrie Museum. The bow is manufactured from shaped piece of wood, while the ends of the iron saw blade have been forged with rounded over ends that would fit and create tension when attached to the spring of the bow. Fragments of the saw blade are preserved in the Petrie Museum, and one fragment shows that it was forged with a rounded edge designed to the above. Now another mummy portrait preserved in the Petrie Museum, Cambridge, shows the likeness of a woman, again discovered by Petrie. It was also made from lime. The back surface of this figure has several large patches of resin where it was glued to the mummy, and textiles attached within the dark resin. However, the tool marks left on the back surface of the figure show that it had been worked thinner after sawing with the aid of a woodwork. There are narrow plane marks running across the frame, and on one of these marks there are small nicks, which indicates, these are ridges, which indicates that plane blade had been damaged at some stage during the planing process. Now, a number of woodworking planes do survive in the Roman period and would have been found extensively across the world. These two notable examples are from Britain, St Albans, and have been discovered from Romano British Foundation. Now, these woodworking planes would have been made from an iron sole that had been riveted to an ivory or wooden body. The iron plane blade, also known as the plane iron, was fitted into a hole cut through the plane body and then locked into place with a wooden wedge when the required depth of blade was exposed below the solid plane. Now, the Egyptian carpenter used an extensive range of woodworking tools. The quality of his work was extremely fine. He was very skilled in all the processes. And the processes and techniques of working wood that were developed in antiquity are still used today by modern carpenters, having been master to apprentice, continually practiced throughout the last.
Thank you very much, Dr. Killen, for this very informative lecture. I'm sure you all appreciate the level of detail and work that shows this presentation. We can have some questions, and then Dr. Killen can show us or demonstrate the different aspects.
How thick was the veneer?
We're talking about 2 millimeters.
2 millimeters, that's very thick.
Yeah, very thick. Even with the hand saw, you could achieve 2 or 3 millimeters. Yeah. But with the frame saw, providing I think it was in a jig, so the jig would allow the saw to run through the wood. The wood was clamped between the jig. You could cut very thin. Whether they were cut in Egypt or cut closer to the place they were actually built, because we're talking about on the veneers, the Greco-Roman mummy, their line was really. They selected the timber that they knew would work processes. So the majority of the mummy portraits are line. But that would be from built from places outside Egypt, distributed around the world.
Question?
Thank you very much for this lecture. I just it hit me that because you were talking about techniques, and so the techniques kind of like sometimes range over 5,000 years, And so do you see an evolution of the technology?
Yeah.
Some kind of evolution?
Yeah, you start with the stone tools, then you go into the copper tools, then you go into the bronze. Well, the copper tools are softer than the bronze. Well, the copper tools that we use had arsenic. They were a lot harder than we would consider copper tools. But by the time they're using bronze was almost as hard as iron. So the tools would be shaped. The adze over a period of 3,000 years started as a very simple tool, very much like the adze here. So the adze has got a blade and it's attached to the heart. This is the first dynasty, and it's bound on with leather binding, soaked in water, tightened, and then pulled. Now, as the adze developed, the shape of the adze heart changed, blades changed, had bigger rounded ends, prevented being forced off the adze. So there's quite good evidence of tools being developed as new technologies, new purposes came along the carpenter to work.
It also seemed to be like Dynasty 1 was already somewhere where they actually knew how to work wood.
Yeah, Dynasty 1 was a pivotal point in Egypt, where the two countries, Upper and Lower Egypt, found, but the grouping that had technology were able to develop the country that they wanted to develop. Begin to see massive explosion of woodwork, not only in Cairo, but all over Egypt. And you can tell because the quality of the work can only be achieved by using wood.
Small comment, that's not about wood, about something you mentioned, that silver was more expensive than gold.
Yeah, silver was considered to be more expensive. You hardly see any silver. Apart from the silver coffee you see in Egypt, it's impossible to get out. Yeah, the metal is more difficult to find than gold. So silver, relatively expensive. Well, not in monetary terms, because I never use money, but it seems to be a metal that was really sort of useful. Gold was easier.
So as far as I'm concerned, Chinese carpentry has been very challenging.
Yeah.
So I was curious, how do you compare the three nations? I know that both of them are at least Indian inspiration.
I don't think there's been a great deal of work done on ancient techniques. Certainly modern techniques. They're using steel tools, and the quality of steel they're using is very, very high. And they're almost like razors. You can get some very, very good stuff with Japanese. I've used the Japanese against the Egyptian. And they do seem to be similar. The Egyptian tool, because it's not mass manufactured, it's bespoke manufactured by the time, doesn't tend to have the accuracy of the Japanese. They do perform very similar.
So maybe very fine to how do you think that? You said that both tools were similar. They were like as from each other. So how do you think travel wanted this?
Yeah. No, it was simply people were using metals to work woods. And it took thousands of years to develop tools. They didn't just develop overnight. So you use a tool, you recognise how it can perform, you modify the tool in order to make it more better. And so I think it's a process of development tools by specialists, knowing exactly what they wanted to achieve and developing the tools to suit the needs of the purpose. Now, whether I doubt that there was any between actually that, but I think people were thinking the same thoughts when they were developing tools. They had to say they needed to produce better quality pieces.
Any other question?
Here with the heritage analysis, you mentioned something that really interests me a lot. Certain types of wood were cut with the grain and then against the grain.
Yeah.
And I'm a medievalist, so I'm much more interested in Viking ships, for example.
Yeah.
And I understand that their ships were so sophisticated because they cut their wood with the grain.
Yeah.
Thereby they could withstand much more external pressure.
Yeah.
Again, I do not see any connections there directly, but it's the expertise of the wood makers.
Yeah, it's simple. I'm going to demonstrate this piece of wood. So timbers will perform very badly along the grain, but incredibly well across the grain. So I'm now chopping mortise. There, yeah. That's across the grain. I put it along the grain. Yeah. So the Egyptians understood clearly in the period that when they're using these, they can't work them along the grain. Very gradually. They have to work them across the grain. That's the same today. They're getting their boats long planks this way, aren't they? The Khufu boat long planks this way. You would never ever see construction, big construction, want it to be a construction that suits the purpose. If it's a decorative thing, you might see paint paint, not on construction.
Thank you very much for the lecture. I'm just curious about the miter joints and other things like that, because they really have to be very precise to fit together. I'm just curious what their technique was to achieve this.
There are two. There's
wooden crafts as well.
They use the miter. Yeah. They use this. Yeah. Well. Use that. So this is someone might want to put the stock pocket together. This has got this is here because we take that joint. So this one has got the butts mounted like that. So that is going to fit. That is going to fit on that corner. 2 bucks. No. Yeah. Then there are holes here, for a dowel to go through, lock the corner together. And then there are dowels here, these are edge dowels. Then connect to trousers to here. Now, these are true miters. Okay? So they'll be marked out with the mitre, saw, shape, then use the chisel just to smooth the edges. Now they're not perfect miters. Once the box is assembled, the whole box is then fastened. Okay, so you lose the actual joint. And some boxes, what they do is they bring boxes together with a nut joint. but they extend over the top to make it look as if it is white. They're actually cut with the top part white. That's a very clever make joint. Make it look. But they go into all these logic about how they could actually manufacture. But I thought this is interesting because this profit, it does display lots and lots of techniques. There are your cheese, your miters, you've got edge joints, you've got butt joints. If anybody would like just to spend maybe 10 minutes or so just trying to fit the whole together, it's there. It's good. Good for mental skills. The challenges. The dowels, there are two different sizes of dowels. Yeah, here and here. Two different sizes. And it forms a quite big box, big enough for a dog. So, are there any? Sorry, yeah.
In your research, you find out which type of defense, because they tried different types to show you.
Yes, yeah.
Which one was, or which one's preserved longer?
Well, we're lucky in Egypt that the woods, the majority of the woods, fine, are actually preserved too. Dry, like Hetty Perrot's, where her furniture can be rotted to find out. Providing the wood is maintained a reasonable atmospheric condition, no water, no wood state. So, probably the best types of wood are like the offers that are made in cedar. The acacias and the sycamore figs don't tend to last as well as cedar. Cedar is a lovely wood. Some of the offers, some furniture. Would you like to see some of these tools being used? Yeah? Right. I don't have some. Maybe people have to stand back. Come down this side. Yeah. Right. The properties of timber. That it's strong across the grain and not along the grain. So timber is the thing that the Egyptian was going to exploit. But then they had to start working it. At first they were working it with these flint tools. Then copper began to appear through the smelting technology. Perhaps it was discovered through simple cooking. The material that was left in the bottom of the hearth was actually something different. What could be eaten? It was copper. And so copper tools began to be developed. And probably the earliest copper tool is this one, saw. The teeth are all nibbled out irregularly, all pushed in one direction. It's based on the copper knife. And so when we use this saw, I'm not going to saw a huge amount. I'm going to use the block. Now I'm going to use the stool. Okay, to sit on. And the block, you've got to imagine this block is a trunk of a tree. Right? And the trunk of the tree is being rebaited across the front and the back. Now, if you're right-handed, it's fine this way. If you're left-handed, you have to sit here. Yeah, does that make sense? So it's very, very clever. But we can't use a wooden block in a place like this because it is so heavy. So, and also there is the possibility of bugs in the wood, damaging other artifacts. So we can't use them. So, saw, piece of wood placed up against stock like a sawing board. it will cut thin and thick pieces of wood. It just depends how long you've got to actually cut it. So, the saw. The next tool is the adze. I've explained how the adze looks and works, but the adze simply so this could be used to true timber after it's been sawn, or to shape timber. Yeah. So that's the adze. The chisels, different types of chisels. Always, if they're mortising, they would be used with a mallet. And right.
Using the same type of tool?
Yes, for this I'm. Yeah. So this is brass. Because copper is difficult to get in Egypt. These tools have been made in Egypt. Okay. The tools I've got at home are copper and bronze. Okay. But that's something that can be looked at and developed later on. So it does show you techniques. Now you notice the Egyptian chisel doesn't have a ferrule here. A ferrule is a thick band of metal that holds the handle together and stops the handle from breaking. Now, without a ferrule, this will break. At some stage it will break, it will split because of the natural force of hitting it on the top. That's why the handle is quite thick to prevent that. But I'd imagine in a carpenter's workshop they're really interested in this. This is the important piece. The handle is, if it breaks, it's just a consumable. You make a new one and stick it on. They would have drilled a small hole and then slowly burnt by heating the end of the chisel, slowly pushing it in, to force it into the handle. It goes into that small. So this is a mortise chisel. And we have other examples of chisel that are smaller that can be used for carving. This one not so much for carving because it's pretty big chisel, but you want something that you can hold in your hand. You can apply the pressure, because if you're carving, you won't tend to be using chisel. You might use it. You might a mallet. You might use a mallet, but usually it's such fine work you want to just use a small bladed chisel. The bow drill. And this is okay. Now the bow drill. Different tools. So the bow is held in the right hand. The cap would have wax in it. Perhaps even the top of the drill stock would have wax. Now remember, this is 5th dynasty technology. That's Sorry?
The musician.
That's it really is good. It impresses everybody. Like, believe me, in a group of children, you're doing this with a group of children. Whoa, this is really, really good. So we have the bow drill work perfectly well. Now the marking out tools, as I said, they're using cubit. Okay. Now I keep going on, hammering on about this. Cubit is about the same height as the man's foot. I'm small. Okay, some of you might be able to put it up and see how big you are. Divided 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 palms, and then each one by a thumb. Now, when you look at in a catalogue or on an online about any artifact that is made in Egypt, what measurements do you see? If you look at a piece, you look at I don't know, a sarcophagus, a piece of furniture, and it tells you the sizes. What sizes do you read? Do you read inches or centimetres, don't you? But not cubits. And my overriding love would be to see someone in a museum convert all the measurements into a royal cubit. This was a standard measurement across the whole of Egypt. And once you see them in the cubits, you might begin then to start seeing a relationship between the measurements. If you see something 500 and 640 millimetres, okay, it's 500 and 640 millimetres. But if you see it's, 1 cubit or 0.6 of a cubit, you can begin to see the ancient measurement of the object, not the modern measurement of the object. So all you have to do is just put an extra line in. Don't take the imperial or the metric measurements away, just put a line in cubits. Anything that is manufactured in Egypt, this is your measurement, royal cubit. Okay, it should be on everything that is manufactured in Egypt.
Sorry, but this reflected it anyway in like modules. If you have we work with the cubit, work with half a cubit, so you can have boxes in modules of half cubits.
Yeah.
This is it's something that you can see.
Yeah.
So you can trace small boxes in half cubit modules. Or is it like this?
Yeah, it could be.
So it's more
in Egypt, it could be like that. But very little.
No, but it's not observed yet.
No. There has been very little research done into examining every box in Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we get some funding together and get into GEM and begin doing a more detailed analysis of the boxes, because the boxes on the Tutankhamun collection have never really been analysed in terms of their decoration, analysed in terms of the construction, analysed in terms of the measurements that are used. These are all things that need to be done. Hopefully we can get round to it. But,
because you can observe then how the industry is developed, because the unit would reflect on the industry. So you have modules of how wood was sold or traded, or
wood would be sold in cubic lengths.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Moving on, right? So if you need to check a right angle, you would use a tri-square. This one's based on a Ptolemaic tri-square. It's got a bridle joint top here and 2 pins that hold the joint, so it makes it a nice right angle. Yeah. And mitre. This is a mitre square, and this can be used also it can be also used as a tri-square at right angles. It can also be used to set up set up these to get them thick. Exactly. So you take this, you hold that, yeah, and you get one. That's so you've got a jig to help you get the drilling through to get the angle completely right angle so these surfaces go through.
You put yourself on the camera.
And finally, you know, if someone wants to have a go at putting that together, finally, that's fine. I've also got here a headrest. Egyptians never used pillars. Okay, they always use some sort of headrest. This is a transportable headrest, so it can be folded, taken around the country. And the reason they use headrests because pillars would be hot, sticky. They shave their heads because of getting lice, and they wanted air to circulate around. And there's also a symbolic reason as well, because the headrest is the shape of where the head comes down and the sun comes down at the end of the day, between the valleys. You see that? Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? And so the sun comes down between the two valleys, the head comes from this. And the Egyptians were terrified of losing their head. They were terrified of losing their head. So this was one way to get rid of the evil spirits. So protected.
So it was on a mattress or
on the bed. On the bed.
And there would be a mattress.
Yeah, there would be a mattress. Yeah, the beds. Yeah. Tomorrow night I'm giving a talk at Cairo Design Week, where I'm talking not about construction. I'm talking about the quality of the furniture design. So I'm looking at reasoning behind why furniture was made the way it was. Why did it have animal legs? Why did it change its animal legs from bovine to lion form? Yeah. Now, these are all sort of symbolic reasons to do with the cultural reasons of the king. But and the decoration, painted decoration, types of stool that we use. I don't want to give too much away, but like the artisan, the woodworker would tend to use a three-legged stool, where women tend to use a round-legged stool. In the 19th century, you see no men sitting on round-legged stools, all women. Yet the king sits on a round-legged stool. Only the king. All the women are allowed to sit. In the 19th. Sorry?
I tried to use it, and I don't have
Doesn't seem comfortable.
Come and try. No. Would anybody like to try?
What material is the fabric itself?
This fabric just has
the wooden ones are not.
the wooden ones would have been padded. Yeah. So they would have cushion on them that could be taken off, washed. And then this you can take this one off.
But you see, no, they still make it.
Oh yeah. They're still used. Would anybody like to try this?
I think you'll win.
Would you like to try it?
Have a nice nap now.
You can lay on your back.
Good night.
It's not too high.
Then you can sleep like this. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
What about laying on your side?
Also, no, I think it's working. fine.
Yeah, it's all
I'm very surprised.
And for you, the furniture are fine.
And this is what modern replicas using ancient designs can do for us. They can show us rather than just looking at them in a gallery or in some sort of display case. You can use them. In the dog coffin, you can use them. You can see how these people lived and how they thought.
And do you ever come across words that on this word or cross?
Yeah, there are, yes. Ebony in one for wood. Eminence, yeah. So yeah, there is movement language across different materials and tools.
One thing I'm interested in, get you work in schools and anybody that has a workshop or a factory or does any kind of woodwork. One of the biggest problems we have is actually edging and honing the tools, sharpening. Now I'm interested in how they did that with a.
Yeah, I
It
know.
seems fairly difficult.
I know where you're coming from. On a modern factory setting, you'd have some sort of jig.
Yeah.
You clamp either a whetstone that goes round and round and round, or a flat stone that you roll backwards and forwards. But this is done perfectly through eye-hand coordination. So the angles. Carpenter is an experienced master of this work, and even master carpenters in the medieval period, they wouldn't be using jigs, so they just honing gently the actual shape.
No jigs.
No jigs. No jigs. The only jig I can possibly think they would have used was a jig for that saw. I've used that frame saw without a jig, and that blade wanders. Yeah, and if you're not careful, you're cutting quite a long piece of wood. The blade will come through the surface. If you can prevent the blade from moving up by placing the blade through two strips. Tomorrow night we've got the jigsaw that frame saw at the Cairo Design Week. You've got two thin strips of material, metal or wood, yeah, and the blade runs between them on both sides. So if you lock your block between these two guides, and as you're running the saw through it, the saw can't move up, the saw can't move down. That's perfect. And you cut up to about 3 millimeters of blades.
It's very, very sharp.
Sharp, yeah, the size is very, very sharp. But you can see the pictures in Pompeii, saw being used.
What's the time gap with the bow as a rim and
Right, okay, so say the bow drill is 5th dynasty. Okay, so we're talking about 2000 BC. Yeah. The first illustration is about 300 BC. So it's quite a long. That's the first illustration. But by the time at 1900, yeah, around time Ramsay's period, it's pretty clear some type of wood turning was actually happening. We haven't got any pictorial evidence, but the physical evidence shows that wood was being scraped, at least scraped. I'm not saying the whole thing was made by turning, but at least parts of it were turned because of the physical pivots the ends of the pieces of wood. Why would you want pivots on the end of the piece unless you were going to hand turn it and carve it as you were just hand turning with some type of jig? Yeah, but the evidence suggests by the Ramesside period there was a limited degree, whether it was just in the royal workshops, not just being in the royal work, not places like Deir Medina, where you have Sennacherib's too. Sennacherib, 19th dynasty carpenter or architect, so mason. He's got a round-legged stool, but it is clearly hand-worked. There is no indication that it's been turned away.
300 BC is the entry of some of the Greek.
Yes.
So this is the Hellenic.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah, I've got no doubt about it. The frame saw is a Hellenic Greco-Roman development, but it was encompassed and embraced by the Egyptian carpenter, who, because of traditions changing, was using the tools to meet the traditional cultural needs of that society.
Then the transformation of time and joining in the thousands of human heritage and influence of Hellenic Islamic era.
Yeah.
And I don't see pieces where there is a direct transition period from cultures like they're using the physical chair and old Egyptian and lingered for a long time, while maybe 300 years, the Egyptian joinery was more dominant.
Yeah.
And
I think you would have found cultural needs of the Greco-Roman rulers were possibly different to what was actually happening in the workshops of the ordinary people of Egypt. And the traditions would have been kept alive in the ordinary workshops, where maybe carpenters were coming across from the Hellenic world. But then you've got the Byzantine world as well. You've got these small grills being manufactured, and just after about 100 years, 100 CE. And look at it, every single one is identical. And it's mortise and two mortises, two tenons. There's grooves cut along here. It's been made with a plane. This is it's Christian. It's a Christian. Byzantine. Yeah. This is pre-Islamic, but there's an Islamic influence there, isn't there? You go to somewhere like the Alhambra Palace in Granada, you'll see windows like this there. That's Islamic, but this is.
Does it have a name?
Sorry.
Does it have a name? Is that?
No, I don't think so. No, you can have a piece if you want to replicate or company. Build it into one of your pieces of furniture. You have a piece of it because it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes.
Wonderful piece of work. Each piece individually handmade. Each piece fitting together, tessellated together. And this is not the only one. There's several examples in the Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford showing other types of this. And the complex geometry, you just can't imagine. This is easy because it's only one piece and it tessellates. But with the ones in the Pitt Rivers Museum, you have one piece that can't tessellate, and you've got to try to figure out all the other pieces that are needed to make a grill. It's incredible.
I'd like also to ask, what kind of knowledge did the carpenter have to produce something like Tutankhamun's stone? Did he conceptualize it and produce it in this shape, or there were other people with different skills, or
there was
anything about that?
Yeah, there were groups of artisans. So certainly the woodwork was done by one set of artisans. The embellishment was done by another set of artisans, gold workers. So, but they're highly skilled. Now, the influence would come down from the royal family. So the royal family would say, right, the legs have to be lion legs. Because we are associated, our family is associated with mighty and strong lion. The back of the throne, we really would like a scene of Ankh-Senamun anointing the young king. So, because then you can also see it in stone as well. So people are sort of moving between wood and stone. And when we get to Ramses III, in his tomb, AD 11, there were sets of wonderful paintings of furniture that were deposited in his tomb. Now, these were all washed away. The tomb flooded. After the tomb was opened, and that all the scenes were recorded by French artists. And they are beautiful. Shows a round-legged throne, chairs, boxes, beds, all painted on wood. And in the treasury, this is where the Ramesses had furniture of equal, not better, than Tutankhamun. Okay? But the people who were making this furniture were also embellishing the walls at Medinet Habu. So you go to the gatehouse at Medinet Habu and look on the walls, you can see a throne on the wall at Medinet Habu that is identical to the throne that's found in Ramesses' tomb. So people were exploring with ideas, but they were also passing their ideas on to other people. And the workers who were working in the tombs obviously were seeing all this furniture being delivered to the tombs. So they were responsible for packing the tombs. And they were coming out and they were being entrepreneurs themselves. They were manufacturing poorer quality material to the same standard of design. And then Deir Medina is the pivotal place, because Deir Medina, you've got this group of artisans, and if one died, another one was taken onto the team, usually a son or something like this. But if there was no place for a son, that son was then sent somewhere else in the country and took all the design knowledge with after they'd done their apprenticeship. So that's how the word of mouth, that's why you see it throughout the whole of Egypt, this same design structure across the whole of Egypt, because there was this movement out from royal workshops to workshops, Deir Medina, and then finally out to the country.
The relation between the designer and the artisan was not there.
No.
It was only the designer slash artisan.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. The scribe was an important part of the whole process. And the scribe actually recorded the amount of furniture that was being made and drew the furniture. Now, whether these, we got ostraca. That's true. Okay. We've got stone plates that show pictures of furniture and tally records of who were making at Deir Medina. And we've got pictures of the furniture being made. And if you look at the furniture being made, say from Senegen's tomb, you can recognise that piece of furniture on the stone plate, the drawing of it. And it's so clever. So they were recording for what purpose is unknown, whether it was to recall who was going to get paid what, because they were being paid in sacks of grain or in other types of food materials. But there was an intricate pattern of movement of people and knowledge between groups of people. But I think Carpenter was the main person. Okay? It was the carpenter who came up with the designs. They may have been influenced by the scribe. It was the carpenter who had to put those designs into effect.
Why do we have so many scribes?
Well, Medina, there were a lot more artisans than there were scribes. But ironically, there was only one carpenter recorded in being attributed to one of the gangs in Deir Medina. Yeah? But when they were then back home working with their sons, they were designated all carpenters. So the royal family only saw them as one carpenter, one person working in the royal tomb. Back at depot, back in the workshop, the real world, they were all carpenters making furniture for themselves and selling the furniture at the marketplace for material. So there was an entrepreneur. It's Karakuni's of this. Yeah, it's called the informal workshop, where formal workshop is the workshop for the king. The informal workshop is the workshop for themselves to make money in order, not money, but provisions and wealth that they could build their own tombs, and their own tombs at the El Medina are fantastic, aren't they? They're splendid.
I have a couple of quick questions. How much do we know about
And it'd be the last
question? Do we see any records, written records, of carpenters or guidebooks? Or instructions?
Yeah. Not. We've got everything was written on these stone flakes. Okay, and the majority of stone flakes are legal documents. Who own what? Women owned. Women were considered to be. They had wealth. Women, and they used their wealth financially, particularly in. But we've also got records of these pictures, and these pictures got lots of funny signs on them that we believe that these are the manufacturers, men who actually made them. Okay? And they've also got signs on which are called nefer, and nefer means good. Yeah. So one nefer is 1-star quality. Some of them have got 5-star quality. 5 nefers. Well, they obviously 5 stars.
Yes.
And obviously, you get a piece of quality wood that's got 5 stars, you're going to be asking a bit more money. There are more materials, goods. But there are court cases where some people have gone back to the carpenter and sort of said, no, hold on a minute. This isn't 5-star quality. You've sold me something that's 3-star quality. And it's down to the oracle then to decide. And it's all written down. The records are all there for us to look at.
I know we're running out of time, so don't have my questions, but there are women involved in carpentry together. That's one thing. And thinking about different types of food, for certain types of food, women and others, especially about going and other types of food for men.
Yeah, I would say sorry. Women weren't involved in carpentry. I'd like to say yes. It is the proper thing to say yes, isn't it, in today's society. But there are no illustrations that show women using tools or axes. A guru, there was a harem palace, and they were responsible for making yeah. Using looms that were made. Yeah, so that's your first question. The second question about different types of wood. Yes, I think the royal family used woods like cedar. They were going to be imported. The ordinary person, Senegem, there was tons of wood being delivered to the royal tombs. And there were people bringing firewood to the cooking at the El Medina. And I just simply cannot believe that the scaffolding that went into these tombs was just taken to pieces, taken away. I reckon there was firewood that was brought up and the wood that was used, the scaffolding, was employed. And second-hand material was then used to manufacture the furniture that was being sold by those working.
I know similarly, when they took ships and built them over in the ports to cross over the Red Sea and everything, they came back when it was used up and couldn't be used for maritime purposes anymore. They reused the planks of wood for coffins and other things like that.
There's some records that Kenneth Kitchen has done at Memphis, where he's taken 2 roads. And it was at a time when obviously timber was scarce in Egypt, and he's recorded how the scribe has gone house to house, requisitioning timber. And it even went to the temple and took away stools from the temple. Now the reasoning why they wanted all this wood is unknown, but wood was an important resource, and it could be reconverted, restructured into other different products. Obviously, the king wanted to have another product, It might be a stall became a piece of a large dowel that went into a boat, something like this.
I'm thinking this is third intermediate period. Kitchen is very interested in that time period and time of relative scarcity.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's
as much as we love what's happening now and the kind of dialogue we're having, we're going to have to end this talk. But there is coffee outside, and Robin would like to discuss further issues with Dr. Killen, who is available, I suppose. So thank you, Dr. Killen, for the great. We hope to see you in Cairo soon. Yes.
I'm here in February.
Very good.
So
yes. We'll be here again.